All right, we're going to do this. Hi. I know some of you are having bad weather today. I hope you're all safe and sound. This is the mop-up for May 28th, 2024. I'm David Feldman. Thank you so much for finding me. Please subscribe to my channel and my newsletter and hit the like button so I remain in your feed, please. Okay, thank you. Academy Award-winning actor Richard Dreyfuss launched into a tirade against gender-affirming care for minors, and then he went after women and the LGBTQ community during a Q&A following a screening in Massachusetts of his movie Jaws. Sounds like the shark isn't the only one who should keep his mouth shut. 2 Italian newspapers are reporting this morning that last week, Pope Francis was asked if gay men could train for the priesthood if they vow to remain celibate. The pontiff reportedly said no, adding, quote, "We already have enough F words in our seminaries." But he didn't say the F word. He said the actual F word, which you don't use to describe homosexuals. The Pope made the comments during a Q&A following a screening of his Academy Award-winning movie, The Goodbye Girl, which he co-starred with Marsha Mason. I love this Pope. Why did he have to do? Actually, the Pope uttered this derogatory term for homosexuals during a private meeting with bishops who automatically assume they're allowed to say the F word for the same exact reason black people are allowed to say the N word. I like this Pope. Why did he's 87. Still, it's unforgivable. It really is. Just let people love one another any way they want, as long as it's consensual. And by the way, not altar boys, okay? You know, as long as it's consensual and they're over the age of 18, leave them alone. Yesterday was Memorial Day, which honors the men and women in our military who made the ultimate sacrifice. The president was accompanied by our vice president and defense secretary as he paid a visit to Arlington to lay a wreath at what Donald Trump calls the tomb of the unknown sucker. Donald Trump, our once commander-in-chief, didn't visit any cemeteries yesterday. He doesn't need to. He just look in the mirror. And anyway, instead, he recognized the solemnity of Memorial Day by taking to social media to write, quote, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the human scum that is working so hard to destroy our once great country," unquote. You know, for Trump, that's the most presidential he's sounded in years. Then Trump went after Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over those 2 civil trials in which a jury ruled that Trump raped and then defamed journalist E. Jean Carroll. In that post, Trump called Judge Kaplan a radical left Trump-hating judge who awarded $93 million to E. Jean Carroll. No, actually, Mr. Trump, a jury awarded her that money. And then Trump probably cost himself another $93 million when he wrote that he had no idea who E. Jean Carroll was, he never met her, and he asked why she never filed a police report if I, quote unquote, raped her. That could be another $93 million, Donald. E. Jean Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, no relation to Judge Kaplan, responded to Trump's lies about E. Jean Carroll. He defamed her once again, and E. Jean Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, said all options are on the table and that a third defamation lawsuit against Trump could be in the cards. The Daily Beast reports this morning that Donald Trump is unloading his $10 million jet. Not the big jet, the smaller one. The Daily Beast says the jet was purchased recently by Medrad Mayadi, a Texas builder who donated $245,000 to Trump's super PAC in 2020. That's what friends are for. This is the second Memorial Day, or yesterday was the second Memorial Day, where MAGA Republicans organized a vigil to honor Ashley Babbitt, the 14-year Air Force veteran who was shot by a Capitol police officer on January 6 as she attempted to crawl through a window of the last door separating the insurrectionists from Nancy Pelosi's office. Now, during the past 3 years since her death, Donald Trump has honored Ashley Babbitt's memory, remembering Ashley Babbitt's birthday each year and calling her an incredible person. He's also been demanding that an investigation start to look into her quote-unquote murder, despite 2 separate federal investigations clearing the Capitol police officer who fired the shot. Now, that officer is black, so it should come as no surprise that Donald Trump often refers to him as a thug. Ashley Babbitt's Twitter account has been taken down because had it been left up, well, it would have revealed who she was and what she believed, and it would make it that much harder for Trump and his MAGA supporters to turn her into the martyr they're trying to portray her as. According to the Associated Press, in the lead up to January 6, Ashley Babbitt's Twitter account included angry videos of her using foul language that I can't repeat, where she complained about, quote-unquote, illegal aliens, ranting and raving about mask mandates, and, of course, the stolen election. Ashley Babbitt often retweeted QAnon posts that highlighted the accusation that Democrats are Satan-worshiping pedophiles who are killing children by first drinking the adrenochrome contained within their blood while the children are still alive. They do that, according to QAnon and Ashley Babbitt on Twitter, in order to steal the life force of these children. That's what she was posting on Twitter. On January 5th of 2021, one day before the insurrection, Ashley Babbitt tweeted, quote, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here and it is descending upon D.C. in less than 24 hours. Dark to light," unquote. There are videos of her ranting in her car that are a little too hard to watch, so I'm not going to play them. Something was clearly wrong with Ashley Babbitt. She's not a martyr, she's a victim. She got played by Trump and the people who organized the Stop the Steal rally. In the lead up to January 6th, Ashley Babbitt had a history of violence where she rammed her SUV 3 times into another woman's car, then banged on that woman's window, challenging her to a fist fight after Ashley Babbitt found out that this woman called Ashley Babbitt's husband to tell him that Babbitt was cheating on him with this woman's live-in boyfriend. This was followed up with a series of restraining orders, clearly showing that Ashley Babbitt was in crisis. This is reporting done by the Associated Press. Well, MAGA Republicans yesterday were using Memorial Day to honor Ashley Babbitt as though she died doing something noble instead of something stupid and un-American. This is Donald Trump lying about January 6th last year while campaigning in Iowa. It's really remarkable that Trump has been able to convince so many of his followers of an alternative version of January 6.
And then you look at what they've done to the January 6 people. They've destroyed them and destroyed their lives. And a lot of them didn't even go into the building.
A lot of them didn't go into the building because, well, the Secret Service wouldn't let you go into the building. A lot of people didn't go into the building, but they were still guilty on January 6. You know who didn't go into the building? The Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. They didn't go into the building. Rudy Giuliani didn't go into the building, but he's still guilty. You're guilty. This is Elmer Stewart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers. He didn't go into the building. He didn't walk around the Capitol, but he's serving 18 years for seditious conspiracy. This is Kelly Meggs and his lovely wife. I think the wife is on my right. Kelly Meggs is an Oath Keeper, also serving time for seditious conspiracy. He never went in the building. The Oath Keepers were outside the building with a cache of weapons inside a hotel room across the Potomac, waiting to be deputized by Donald Trump after Trump invoked emergency powers and declared martial law. That's what they said during the trial. That's what Elmer Stewart Rhodes said during the trial. We brought all these weapons, assuming Donald Trump was going to deputize us and declare emergency. Who told Stewart Rhodes that that was going to happen? Why was he talking on the phone, allegedly, to someone in the White House on January 6th while the insurrection was taking place? This is the head of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio. He never went in the building that day, but he's serving a 22-year prison sentence for seditious conspiracy. Please proceed, Donald Trump, about Ashley Babbitt. He's trying to make Ashley Babbitt a martyr. He's trying to make the January 6ers a martyrs. He's saying he's going to pardon them. Go ahead, Donald Trump, who, I need not remind my listeners that according to the Washington Post, told more than 30,000 lies. Donald Trump told more than 30,000 lies during his 4 years as president. The Washington Post kept track of everything Trump said while he was president, and they kept a running list of all his lies. It totaled 30,573. Nothing that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth is true. So, tell us a lie about Ashley Babbitt, Donald Trump.
And Ashley Babbitt was killed, shot by, in my opinion, a rogue cop. He had no business doing that. He shot her unarmed.
A rogue cop. As I said earlier, that cop is black, and usually Trump calls him a thug, not a rogue cop. Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar says Ashley Babbitt was executed on January 6. Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar says she was unarmed, and he says she was executed by that black Capitol police officer. Kyle Rittenhouse, on the other hand, shoots 2 Black Lives Matter protesters to death, injures another, and he's called a fine young man by Donald Trump and every Christian white ethno-nationalist serving in Congress, including Paul Gosar, who on November 19th, 2021, the day a jury refused to convict Rittenhouse, Dr. Gosar, he's a dentist. Dr. Gosar tweeted, "Justice was served for Kyle Rittenhouse, and he is fully exonerated. As I said last year, obviously self-defense. I will arm wrestle Matt Gaetz to get dibs for Kyle as an intern. He wanted to hire Kyle Rittenhouse as an intern." Well, Kyle Rittenhouse would have felt right at home as an intern at Paul Gosar's office. Last year, Talking Points Memo broke the story that Congressman Paul Gosar's digital director, Wade Searle, was secretly linked through a pseudonym to neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. Remember Nick Fuentes? He's the self-described Nazi who had dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West back in November of 2022. Turns out there were more Nazis working for Paul Gosar. This is a headline from Arizona Central. Headline, Representative Paul Gosar blasted by Jewish groups after two staffers linked to white supremacists. This is Wade Cyril. He's the former digital director over at Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar's office. He handled the tweets, the Facebook posts, cut the videos. Wade Cyril, he is a close friend and devoted follower of Nazi Nick Fuentes, according to reporting in Talking Points memo. And this is a photo of Wade Cyril this year, posing with Arizona Republican Senate candidate Kari Lake. Headline from the Arizona Mirror, March 4th, 2024. Is a white nationalist part of Kari Lake's team? Her campaign won't say. This is Wade Cyril, a Nazi. According to Talking Points memo, is he helping Kari Lake? Her campaign won't say. Jim Small, writing over at the Arizona Mirror, says that Kari Lake is out on the campaign trail, running for Senate, claiming she's the closest thing to Donald Trump you can get serving in the Senate. She says if you want Donald Trump, a version of Donald Trump serving in the Senate, elect me. Jim Small over at the Arizona Mirror writes, however, that new polling of Republican voters done by CBS News reveals a gigantic chasm in the Republican Party between Trump supporters and Lake supporters, where 93% of Arizona Republicans say they plan to vote for Donald Trump. Only 73% of the same Republicans said they will vote for Kari Lake. It's a 20-point differential. You might remember earlier this month, I told you how Trump kicked Kari Lake out of Mar-a-Lago. She was hanging out and bickering with Marjorie Taylor Greene because they were both positioning themselves as his running mate. He was playing them off one another. Finally, he kicked Kari Lake out of Mar-a-Lago, told her she's not going to be his running mate. He said, stop hanging around. He no longer trusts her because she tapes every phone conversation and she wears essentially a wire. She got the chairman of the Arizona Republican Party fired because she was wired up when he offered her a job in exchange for not running for Senate this year, because the Arizona Republican Party knows that she's a liability. And Trump, when he kicked her out of Mar-a-Lago, said, go back to Arizona and do better. If I lose Arizona, he said to her, it will be your fault, because it's never Donald Trump's fault. That same CBS poll of likely Arizona voters shows Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego beating Kari Lake by 13 percentage points. Only 36% of likely Arizona voters say they will vote for Kari Lake. Congressman Gallego, if you're an American citizen or if you have a visa, you should be donating to Ruben Gallego. He gets 49% of the vote. And it will only get worse for Kari Lake because Gallego is running circles around her when it comes to raising money. Kari Lake's entire campaign for Senate in Arizona, her platform is the Democrats stole the election from Trump in 2020. They stole it from me in 2022 when I ran for governor and lost. and they're trying to steal it again from me in 2024 as I run for Senate. She's an election denier, and that's what she's running on. The election was stolen. She offers nothing to voters other than the lie that the elections are being stolen. That's all they offer. That's all Republicans offer are lies. So let's return to Donald Trump's lies about Ashley Babbitt, his Horst Wessel, or Horst Wessel. Read about Horst Wessel, the Nazi thug who was turned into a martyr. Here is Trump again talking about Ashley Babbitt.
And Ashley Babbitt was killed, shot by, in my opinion, a rogue cop. He had no business doing that. He shot her unarmed.
She was innocent, he says. She was a good person. Okay, continue lying about Ashley Babbitt. Go ahead. Please proceed, mein Führer.
And actually, people say she was trying to hold back the people that were pushing her forward.
Okay, people are saying she was trying to hold back the people who were pushing her forward. This is how he lies. People are saying, I'm not saying, but people are saying Ashley Babbitt was trying to hold back the people who were pushing her forward. This is the lie, as they try to turn her into a martyr, that the mob pushed her forward through the door, and that's why she got shot. Okay. This is an audio podcast, so my apologies to those of you listening right now, because I'm about to show some video. But I'm going to assume that everyone who listens to this show has already seen the January 6th video of Ashley Babbitt. I know my audio listeners have watched all the documentaries and seen the video of Ashley Babbitt getting shot. What I'm going to do right now is be very delicate, okay? I'm going to show you that Donald Trump is a liar, that Ashley Babbitt is not a martyr. I'm going to play some video without the sound, and I'm not going to show you Ashley Babbitt's final moments. And this, by the way, is precisely why Donald Trump can get away with lying about Ashley Babbitt. Most people don't want to look at Ashley Babbitt's final moments. And the ones who do tend to be Trump support. Those are the people who sit in their underwear eating Cheetos, logging on to QAnon chat rooms. Nobody wants to see Ashley Babbitt's final moment, and the news media doesn't like to show it for obvious reasons. It's unpleasant. So, the great disinfectant is the truth. Justice Brandeis, I believe, said that. I think it's Lysol, but Justice Brandeis said it's the truth. So again, what I'm going to do to prove to you, and most of you already know this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Donald Trump is a liar, and I'm going to show you the moment. I just want to, literally a trigger warning. I'm going to show you the moments leading up to Ashley Babbitt's final moment. You're not going to see anything morbid and disturbing, okay? This is a still photo of Ashley Babbitt right before her final moment. Here she is crawling through, let me go large here. She's crawling through a broken window above a door that separated the insurrectionists from Nancy Pelosi's office. Now, in the video before this, moments before this moment, you can see members of Congress, like Massachusetts Congressman Jim McGovern, gathering right in front of this door in front of Nancy Pelosi's office, waiting to be moved to a secure location by Capitol Police, okay? So this picture that you're looking at right now is right before the door is busted down and they raid Nancy Pelosi's office through another door, not through this door. Okay, this is Ashley Babbitt. You see it right now. She's crawling through the window of the door. She is not being pushed forward. She is leading the charge. Complete contradiction of Trump's lie that she was being pushed forward while trying to hold the crowd back. Okay, I'm going to play her final moments. You're not going to see her last moment, I promise, okay? But I'm going to play it without sound because there's a lot of cursing and it's disturbing. You're not going to see a gun. You're not going to see her final moment, I promise, okay? Now remember, right before this video was shot, the Capitol Police were trying to stop the insurrectionists in the shot from beating down this door, but they were outnumbered and they were being pushed and beaten, so they stepped aside. They stepped away from the door. Watch. This is them beating the windows. Look to your right. Keep your eye on the right. They're beginning to break through the windows. The Capitol Police officer, you won't see him, takes out his sidearm, and you can see the insurrectionists are screaming, "Stop, don't go further." They see that there's a gun, don't go any further. But instead, Ashley Babbitt refused to listen and barreled through the window, okay? On the far right of the screen. Do you see that? On the far right of the screen. When the window to the door on the far right is broken, you see Ashley Babbitt begin to leap through it. Let me show you. Okay, right there is Ashley Babbitt. Again, I promise you're not going to see her final moment, but it's seconds away. Let's look at it from a different angle. Okay? This is from a different angle. You tell me, and I'm going to play Donald Trump instead of the actual sound. You tell me if Donald Trump is telling the truth, looking at this video. You tell me if Donald Trump is telling the truth when he says Ashley Babbitt was trying to hold the crowd back, but was being pushed forward by the mob from a different angle. Take a look.
And actually, people say she was trying to hold back the people that were pushing her forward. Ashley Babbitt was the one that was killed. She was the one that was killed.
Okay. All right. Do you see anybody pushing her? All right. No. Nobody's pushing her forward. Let's watch it again. Okay. This is the lie that they repeat because nobody will call them on it. Nobody wants to look at this. So you can lie about Ashley Babbitt because people rarely see this video because it's painful to watch. But I'm not showing you the final moment. I'm just showing you why Donald Trump is a liar. Here we go.
And actually, people say she was trying to hold back the people that were pushing her forward. Ashley Babbitt was the one that was killed. She was the one that was killed.
Okay. Nobody's pushing her forward. She was leading the charge. And moments later, she was shot by a Capitol Police officer who was protecting Nancy Pelosi's office and members of Congress who had not yet been moved into a safe location. Donald Trump's Manhattan criminal trial goes into the home stretch later today as prosecutors and defense attorneys deliver their closing arguments. The case is expected to be handed to the jury sometime this week. We could have a guilty verdict as soon as Friday. Trump faces 34 felony counts for falsifying records and violating campaign finance law when he paid hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. I don't know if you've been following this. I don't know if I told you this, but Donald Trump had unprotected sex with Stormy Daniels just weeks after Melania gave birth to their son. And while she was pregnant with their son, Donald Trump carried on a year-long affair with a Playboy playmate by the name of Karen McDougal. Okay. Prosecutors will get the last word as Trump's defense team will deliver their closing argument first. The burden of proof in a criminal trial is on the government, as Al Jazeera points out this morning in their coverage of the trial. Al Jazeera, great news organization. As Al Jazeera points out this morning in their coverage of Trump's trial, Trump's lawyers don't have to prove his innocence. All they have to do is make the case that the government, the prosecutors, failed to prove Trump's guilt by beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecutor's star witness, Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, will be brutalized later this week and today as Trump's lawyers attempt to paint him as an unreliable witness, a serial liar, an ex-con who lied before Congress and as recently as last week admitted under oath that he stole $30,000 from the Trump Organization. Well, of course he's a liar and a thief. That's why he was hired by Donald Trump. If you listened to Sunday's show, I said while it would be nice to see Trump convicted this week, it will have no bearing on the November election. All the polling shows most Americans aren't following this trial. I thought they would. I thought, it had sex. Americans aren't following this trial. And some Americans are saying if he's convicted, it would influence their choice, but it wouldn't be a deal killer. As I said on Sunday's program, Trump is probably getting a bump in the polls because of this trial. A lot of Americans don't trust the criminal justice system. They think it's rigged because it is rigged. The problem is it's rigged in favor of Donald Trump. Nobody else could get away with what he's pulling. But many Americans right now are living vicariously through Trump, much the same way they lived vicariously through Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, or movies like The Godfather and TV shows like The Sopranos. I believe, and I said this on Sunday, and it bears repeating, I believe the Supreme Court, in delaying their verdict on presidential immunity, and thereby delaying the trial in Washington, D.C., and the trial in Miami, I believe they're doing Biden and the Democrats a favor. I've come to believe this. After this Manhattan criminal trial is done this week, after this trial, we're done until after the election when, depending on who wins, we might just be done. But as for criminal trials, this is it until November. I don't think Biden is going to benefit politically if the Justice Department or the DA in Fulton County, Georgia, Fani Willis, wins any convictions before Election Day. I thought it would move the needle in Biden's favor if there was a conviction before Election Day. I've come to realize in the past 2 weeks, in the end, this election won't be about whether Trump is a criminal, because everyone knows he's a criminal. And millions and millions and millions of Americans don't care that Donald Trump is a criminal, including the ones who are voting for Biden. Most Americans think everybody's a criminal. Anybody who has power and influence is a criminal. So what is this election about? It's not about Donald Trump's criminality. It's about abortion. It is about abortion. As I keep saying, it's going to be decided by suburban women living in the swing states. And suburban women care about abortion. They also care about inflation. They care about jobs, crime, this fictitious migrant crisis. They care about the environment. They care about guns. And of course, our democracy. A lot of the people voting mostly care about abortion, then the economy, and then, if you're a Democrat, democracy. When Trump is forced to talk about any of those issues, he loses. Trump and the Republicans are the party of the aggrieved. It's the party of white fragility. It's the party of privileged simps who feel their country is slipping away from them. So putting Trump on trial just further pushes that narrative of aggrievement. Trump is claiming that he's being unfairly prosecuted and persecuted. So once this Manhattan criminal trial is over, conviction or acquittal, it doesn't matter if he's convicted. He's going to appeal. Trump is going to be forced, after this week, to spend the next 5 months defending his presidential record, not denying his criminal record. And his presidential record, just like his criminal record, is indefensible. And he's got to make the case to voters why they should vote for him. If the next 5 months are focused solely on Trump as the candidate and not the defendant, he loses. Some of you have asked why I'm not predicting the verdict this week. I like to predict things, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Well, only a fool would attempt to get inside the mind of a jury. My prediction is it doesn't matter. Trump will appeal, and he will tie it up in appeals courts for years. I mean, he owes the IRS $100 million on the Trump Tower in Chicago. His accountants have been tying that one up. He owes another $70 million to the IRS that we know about. He's owed that for 10 years. He's been just what he owes the government in taxes. He's just playing out the clock until he expires. More importantly, of the 4 criminal trials, this one in Manhattan is the least bad thing Trump has done. The man was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll last year. He led an insurrection. There are so many illegal things Donald Trump did as president, from firing James Comey to violating the Emoluments Clause. Covering up hush money payments to Stormy Daniels is the least of them. Now, the one thing Donald Trump has succeeded in doing is he has proved without a shadow of a doubt that America's legal system is a joke. It's undebatable. I mean, he pulled the Band-Aid off. We see the bleeding scar. Nobody can deny that America's criminal justice system is a joke. It is all about money. And some of you knew that already, but Donald Trump has made it axiomatic, undeniable. If you have unlimited resources, in Trump's case, hundreds of millions of dollars from his super PAC, that's all those donations are going to his lawyers. If you have unlimited resources, you can tie up anything in court or with the Internal Revenue Service for decades. When did Captain Joseph Hazelwood spill all that oil into Prince William Sound? Was it 1989? I think it was 1989. ExxonMobil was ordered to pay the indigenous people and the fisheries $5 billion, 89, 99. It took 20 years for them to settle before they paid a lot less. I talked about that on the show earlier this year. I'm not sure. And I don't know what the numbers were, but they tied up the punitive damages in court for close to 20 years, and they ended up paying a lot less because Exxon has unlimited money. So I don't know what's going to happen on Friday. I think we'll have a verdict by Friday. This is what I do know after watching Trump. I think I'm utterly convinced that law school in America must be free. Tuition must be free or made. I mean, you could still, if you want to go to, the private universities, go to their law schools, pay for it. But public universities should make law school available to anyone who wants to go to law school for free. We should be paying people to go to law school in this country. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law. Well, as long as lawyers in America are leaving law school tens of thousands of dollars in debt, some of them are $100,000 in debt, we will never have the army of public interest lawyers and public defenders this country needs to bring the billionaire class to their knees. The lawyers are a cancer, and they insinuate themselves into every facet of our life, especially corporate lawyers. And we're outgunned. The people are outgunned. That's why law school should be free, and why you should give to Public Citizen, the People's Lobby. By the way, it was founded by Ralph Nader. You should always donate to Public Citizen. And if you don't know what Public Citizen is, Google it, log on, find out the work that Public Citizen does for you. It's the people's lobbyist. So if you have some extra money sitting around, donate to Public Citizen. What is a libertarian? What is a libertarian? Here in America, a libertarian is one of two types of people. The first type of libertarian says government is the root of all evil, and then they are the first ones to complain about our crumbling schools and infrastructure. The second type of libertarian is a member of the richest 1% who doesn't want to pay taxes or have his corporation forced to pay into Social Security or Medicare or be subject to regulation by the Environmental Protection Agency, OSHA, and the Labor Department. Oil companies, the Koch brothers, founded the Cato Institute. It's a libertarian think tank. Cato churns out bogus white papers trying to convince low information voters that the government is the enemy, when in fact the government is the only line of defense against the people who are funding the Cato Institute. And those people are poisoning our air, water, and minds. This is what Exxon does. This is what the Koch brothers do. They want a smaller government when it comes to regulation and taxation, and they need to convince low information voters to be libertarians. They need to convince low information libertarians that government is the enemy. Anyone who insists government is the enemy is either incredibly rich and doesn't want to pay taxes or get regulated, or is a low information voter with just enough phony knowledge to vote against their own self-interest. I've been around for a while, and I have some dating tips. If you meet a man, I don't know about women who are libertarians. I know Ashley Babbitt was a libertarian, but I can only talk about men. If you're looking to date, be involved with a man, okay? If you meet a man who says with full confidence, taxation is theft. I hear this like it's E equals MC squared. They just repeat this over and over again, and it's the gospel. Taxation is theft. If you meet a man who says that, run. Run for your life. They are dangerous, emotionally, physically, and financially. Any man, trust me on this, any man who says taxation is theft, they don't pay their bills. They are not marriage. They're not dating material. I've met a lot of men. I've never met a man who says taxation is theft, who doesn't owe back alimony, back child support, back taxes, and reek of cigarette smoke. They smell of cigarette smoke and 2-day-old aftershave. That's what that libertarian convention in Washington, D.C. smelled like on Saturday. 2-day-old aftershave and despair. On Saturday, the libertarians held their convention in Washington, D.C. By the way, what is a libertarian? Is somebody who doesn't have the balls to say they're a Republican. That's what a libertarian is. So Donald Trump, to his credit, got up in front of these libertarians and asked them for their vote. Honestly, I thought it went really well. Here we go. This is Trump. I'm going to tell you why I thought it went well for Trump. Here we go.
The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win.
Okay, so he's the devil. I really do think he's the devil. And one of the problems with the devil is they're they're seductive. I found that appealing. I really admire him for going up in front of these crazed libertarians, knowing he was going to get booed, smiling as he got booed. He stood his ground. Unfortunately, you got to give the devil his due. More of Mein Fuhrer.
Now I think you should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together. You heard those words. Nominate me or vote. Vote for me. Because the libertarians want to vote for me, and most of them will. And it's very important.
Most of them will. They will. Not the people in that room, but most. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who saw that on C-SPAN, and they're thinking, I like this guy. Okay? And then Trump, I mean, he was, they didn't throw him until the end. Then he got a little shaken. Here he is confusing Joe Biden with Donald Trump.
But we want libertarian votes because you stand for what we stand for, and don't waste a vote, and don't allow the worst president in the history of our country to come back and do the final destruction of America. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you.
See, he got rattled. He got rattled. Don't let the worst president in American history come back and do the final destruction. That's you, Donald. That's you. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. preceded Trump at the Libertarian Convention. He asked the Libertarians to nominate him, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a Kennedy running as a Libertarian. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was my hero 20 years ago when he wrote about how the environment was getting destroyed due to regulatory capture. He wrote about big business installing fossil fuel executives inside the Department of Interior or the Environmental Protection Agency. He used to write 20 years ago about how America needed government to protect us from oil and mining lobbyists. But now he's a libertarian who opposes government overreach, which is exactly what the fossil fuel companies want people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to say. Worms, parasites, will often split in half. They'll break off, and the other half dies. But the other half, the other segment, keeps going. This is not how parasites or worms reproduce. It's way more complicated. But most of you know that a parasite, a worm, can split, be segmented, and the worm will regenerate one part of its body. I think doctors found the dead worm in Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brain, but I think there's a live one still in there, and somebody needs to go in and smoke him out. There's a voracious worm eating away at Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brain. It pains me to say this. You know, I used to say, up until about 3 weeks ago, I used to say it's really hard to hate Bobby Kennedy Jr., but he's making it easier and easier. Well, I would never hate Bobby Kennedy Jr. I just can't. But he is sick. He's a sick and dangerous man, and it pains me to say that because he was a hero of mine. Anyway, after Bobby was booed off stage and Trump was booed off stage, Chase Oliver got the Libertarian Party's nomination for president. Chase Oliver. Chase, you'll be pleased to know, believes man-made climate change is real. But the market only the market can solve it. He says that if the government would simply get out of the way of the fossil fuel industry, the market would instruct the fossil fuel industry that they need to develop alternative energy that's clean because it's in their financial interest. That's what Chase Oliver says. Climate change is real, but the only way to solve it is let the market tell Exxon what to do, not the government. Exxon is poisoning our air and water and our minds because, according to Chase Oliver, the government won't stop regulating ExxonMobil. Chase Oliver is pro-choice, but he says the government shouldn't be funding anyone's abortion. So he only thinks abortion is okay for rich people. That sounds like a Republican to me. Chase Oliver is gay, and he's pro-gun. He says, quote, "Armed gays are harder to oppress and they're harder to bash." What a sad, sad statement. People watch us in other countries, and what a sad thing to say. Armed gays are harder to oppress and they're harder to bash. Well, this is my favorite story. Voters in Texas go to the polls today, deciding several runoff elections where candidates didn't get 50% or more of the vote during the primary. So it's runoff day in Texas. In the Texas State House, Republican Speaker Dade Phelan is in a runoff after failing to get 50% of the vote. The Speaker of the Texas State House is in a runoff today. He didn't get more than 50%. Well, Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the State House in Texas, Republican, made an enemy of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton when he allowed the State House to impeach Ken Paxton. If you remember, Paxton was later acquitted in the Senate. Donald Trump endorsed Speaker Phelan's challenger in the runoff today, Republican David Covey. Why? Out of loyalty to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who Trump has suggested he wants to name as his Attorney General should he somehow find his way back into the Oval Office. So, Republican on Republican violence. That's what we're witnessing today in Texas. The Speaker of the House of Texas, Dade Phelan, going up against essentially Donald Trump and Ken Paxton through David Covey, who's running against him. Why did Speaker Phelan alienate his fellow Republican and demand that Attorney General Ken Paxton get impeached? Who ever heard of Republicans impeaching other Republicans? What was the political calculus behind this? Well, Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, last year accused Republican Texas Speaker Dade Phelan of presiding over the State House inebriated. I played this clip for you last year. I love this. You decide for yourself if Ken Paxton, the state attorney general, was correct. You tell me if the speaker Dade Phelan seems inebriated.
Mr. Campbell sent an amendment. The amendment is acceptable to the author. Is there objection to the opposite amendment? The chair has none. Amendment is adopted. The chair recognizes Mr. Johnson of Harris. Mr. Johnson of Harris to speak in opposition to the bill. The chair recognizes Ms. Niave Criado to speak in opposition to the bill.
I'm directed by the Senate to inform the House that the Senate is taking the following action.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Members may want to hear this announcement. Mr. Guerin moves the House adjourn until Monday at 1 p.m. Is there objection? The chair hears none. The House stands adjourned.
I played that last year. I love this. He seems sober to me, right? Seems perfectly sober. Let me play you my favorite part. So, having had a drinking problem in the past, I suspect Dade Phelan, the speaker, is doing the old hair of the dog, where you're hungover from the previous night. So you take a couple of shots of bourbon to smooth things out. You want to just even out the rough edges. And, you got a blinding headache from the night before, so you have a few more drinks just to... So this is, I believe, a man who is hungover and drunk. Watch.
Mr. Campbell sent an amendment. The amendment is acceptable to the author. Is there objection to the opposite amendment? The chair hears none. Amendment is adopted.
Okay. I'm going to, I apologize to those of you who are listening to this as an audio podcast, but I want you to look at his face when he hits the gavel. When he hits the gavel, it's like, oh, why did I do that? It's just reverberating in his head. Watch again. This is Texas Republican Speaker Dade Phelan with the old hair of the dog, hungover and drunk, realizing hitting the gavel in this state of mind was a mistake. Here we go. Watch his face right after he hits the gavel.
Adopted.
It's like, oh, okay. One more time. That just makes me so, indulge me. Here we go.
Adopted.
Okay. That's, we'll be watching his runoff today. We're also paying close attention to two congressional runoffs in Texas. Today, Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar is the only pro-life Democrat serving in the House. He was just indicted on charges of accepting bribes from the Bank of Mexico and the government of Azerbaijan. The Republicans will be holding a runoff election today to determine who Henry Cuellar will be facing in November. And Tony Gonzalez, on the right, represents Texas's 23rd congressional district. He's a Republican. The city of Uvalde is in his district. You might remember 2 years ago, a gunman opened fire, killing 19 students, children, babies, and 2 teachers. Right after that shooting, President Biden introduced the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which made it a little harder to buy an assault weapon. It was passed and signed into law. Republican Tony Gonzalez, who represents the people of Uvalde, voted for President Biden's bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And because of that, he was censured by the Texas State Republican Party earlier this year because he voted for gun control. Last month, he said there are a lot of scumbags in the Republican Party. I like this guy. He's been forced into a runoff against Brandon Herrera on the left. He's a 28-year-old YouTube personality with 3 million subscribers. They watch him taste test assorted assault weapons while mocking veterans who commit suicide with a gun. He jokes about veterans who use guns to commit suicide. He jokes about the Holocaust. It should come as no surprise to you that he's been endorsed by Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz in this runoff. So we'll be watching that runoff today. Mexico elects a new president, and Claudia Sheinbaum is expected to win. She would become Mexico's first female president, as well as Mexico's first Jewish president. She recently served as the mayor of Mexico City. Sheinbaum holds a doctorate in engineering. She was nominated by the Morena Party, a self-described leftist, anti-neoliberal populist party. Mexico's current president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, also known as AMLO, is also a member of Morena, and he's not allowed to serve 2 consecutive terms. Claudia Sheinbaum is most likely going to be the new president of Mexico. Dina Boluarte is Peru's first female president. She became president of Peru back in 2022 after then-President Pedro Castillo, a former union leader, got impeached and removed from office after he attempted to dissolve Congress and rule by decree in order to combat right-wing opposition business interests paralyzing his administration. Yesterday, Peru's Attorney General filed charges against President Boluarte, charging her with graft based on her ability to wear luxury Rolex watches on just a government salary. Okay. I'm going to talk about Gaza and Israel for the rest of the show. So I'm not going to show any pictures that are disturbing, but I'm going to talk about war. Okay? So if I'm just warning you. 45 Palestinians are dead, 249 wounded, mostly women and children, after Israeli forces bombed a designated safe zone in Rafah, the southernmost part of Gaza, where hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians are now huddling. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it, quote, a tragic accident. The Israeli military confirmed the airstrike also took out 2 Hamas leaders who had been targeted in the attack. Netanyahu said Israeli soldiers try to avoid civilian casualties, but it's difficult when Hamas uses civilians as shields. Netanyahu said yesterday, quote, for us, every uninvolved civilian who is hurt is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. That's the difference, unquote. The Israeli government has turned over video of the attack to the media, including the New York Times, for review. There are reports that Israeli shelling of other parts of Rafah are continuing. There were 2 hospitals operating in Rafah. Now there is one after the Kuwaiti hospital was ordered shut down when 2 of its workers were killed by Israeli missiles. Fighting throughout the rest of Gaza continues. Al Jazeera reports 160 Palestinians are dead after Hamas and Israel exchanged fire in parts of central and northern Gaza. Israel said Hamas has resumed launching rockets from northern Gaza into southern Israel. So far, the Hamas rockets have landed in unpopulated areas. Israel said it knocked 3 drones out of the sky that had been launched by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq is an Iranian-backed group of fighters based in Iraq. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq took credit for the attempted strike. Iranian-backed Hezbollah, a paramilitary organization situated in southern Lebanon, said it launched dozens of Katyusha rockets into northern Israel in response to an Israeli drone strike in the town of Bint Jabal in southern Lebanon. For more than 2 decades, Bint Jabal has served as a base of operations for Hezbollah commanders. I am not pronouncing some of these towns properly. I apologize. U.S. Central Command is now reporting that American forces took out an unmanned drone over the Red Sea that may have been intended for merchant vessels. The Pentagon says the unmanned drone was launched by Iranian-backed Houthi fighters in Yemen. Houthi rebels earlier in the day said that to protest Israel's latest strikes on Rafah, they launched attacks against 2 U.S. destroyers in the Red Sea and 3 U.S. freighters in the Indian Ocean. CIA Director William Burns was in Paris over the weekend meeting with David Barnea, the head of Israel's intelligence agency, better known as Mossad. The two reportedly met with the Prime Minister of Qatar. Qatar serves as the intermediary negotiator for Hamas. A lot of Hamas leaders live in Qatar. After the meeting in Paris, it was announced Israel, the United States, and Qatar would restart negotiations with Hamas for a ceasefire. They would restart negotiations later this week in Egypt. But a leader for Hamas said they will not participate in any ceasefire negotiations until Israel agrees to stop the fighting in Gaza. So it looks like there won't be ceasefire talks resuming this week. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned Israel's deadly strike on Rafah, saying there is no longer any safe place for civilians in all of Gaza. The Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium said later, quote, "The time for economic sanctions against Israel is now." Canada's Foreign Minister Melanie Joly condemned the attack on Rafah and called for an immediate ceasefire. Canada is offering 5,000 visas to Palestinians living in Gaza who have relatives in Canada. But Canada's Immigration Minister Mark Miller said it's impossible right now to get those Palestinians out of Gaza. You have to go through the Rafah crossing. And Egypt, it's very hard right now to get out of Gaza. Last week, Norway, Spain, and Ireland said they would officially recognize a Palestinian state. Of the United Nations' 193 members, 143 have recognized a Palestinian state. The United States, along with France, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Italy, have not recognized a Palestinian state. The Biden administration announced that it is official American policy to support a two-state solution. It has been America's official policy to support a two-state solution since George Herbert Walker Bush was president. Benjamin Netanyahu, in the past several months, has stated publicly, for the first time, what he has been saying privately for decades, and that is, as long as I'm prime minister, there will never be a two-state solution. Benjamin Netanyahu has said he will never allow the Palestinian people to become a sovereign nation. The International Criminal Court, otherwise known as the ICC, indicts individual leaders for war crimes. The ICC doesn't indict countries, it indicts people. Last week, Karim Khan, the International Criminal Court's lead prosecutor, went before a panel of judges seeking an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu, his defense minister, and the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. The judges from the International Criminal Court have not yet authorized the warrant. Hamas leader Sinwar would be charged with ordering the October 7th massacre in Israel, while Netanyahu, along with his defense minister Yoav Gallant, would be charged with committing war crimes after the attack in Gaza, where more than 36,000 civilians, mostly women and children, have been killed so far. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that if the ICC does issue an arrest warrant, then Benjamin Netanyahu would be arrested if he tried to step foot on German soil. There is the International Criminal Court, and there is the World Court. The World Court is a judicial branch of the United Nations set up after World War II to adjudicate wars between nations. The World Court, it's not the ICC, this is the World Court. Last week, the World Court ordered Israel to refrain from going into Rafah. President Joe Biden has also told Netanyahu, do not go into Rafah, and he warned he would suspend further arms shipments if any U.S. weapons were used in such an attack. The Washington Post reports this morning that back on May 14th, Donald Trump told donors that if elected, he would deport any foreign nationals taking part in anti-Israel protests. Trump also told donors that America needs to stand back and allow Israel to finish its war on terror. The Washington Post is also reporting that while Trump has been purposely vague on how he would solve the Middle East crisis, he has told donors that he doesn't think a two-state solution is doable. On March 14th of this year, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Jew in our government, delivered a 40-minute speech in the well of the Senate urging new elections in Israel, saying it was time for Benjamin Netanyahu to go, calling Netanyahu, quote, an obstacle to peace. Schumer said, quote, Benjamin Netanyahu has lost his way by allowing his political survival to take precedence over the best interests of Israel. This is what Chuck Schumer said. Benjamin Netanyahu has lost his way by allowing his political survival to take precedence over the best interests of Israel. After Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer delivered his speech condemning Benjamin Netanyahu, President Joe Biden praised Schumer's speech, saying Schumer addressed concerns felt by most Americans. Joe Biden has privately referred to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as, quote, an a-hole, and has repeatedly told Netanyahu, do not go into Rafah. Donald Trump, has been critical of Netanyahu, but only because Benjamin Netanyahu is guilty, in Trump's mind, of being ungrateful for all the things Trump believes he did for Israel when he was president. Things like moving the American embassy to Jerusalem and recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel. The Golan Heights were seized from Syria in the Six-Day War in 1967, right? 1967. That's the only reason Donald Trump is critical of Benjamin Netanyahu. His ingratitude, according to Donald Trump, first manifested itself back in December of 2020 when Netanyahu called Joe Biden to congratulate him on winning the presidency. Trump called that phone conversation the ultimate betrayal. That is why immediately after October 7th, Trump called the attack, Hamas's attack that killed nearly 1,200 people in Israel, he called it an intelligence failure and that Benjamin Netanyahu must shoulder the blame. Other Republicans have been way more supportive of Netanyahu than former President Donald Trump has been. I played this before, here is Lindsey Graham 2 weeks ago on Meet the Press. Lindsey Graham, Republican senator, you can criticize Joe Biden, who is trying to stop the fighting in Rafah. He's trying to negotiate a ceasefire. He's condemning Netanyahu. You have Chuck Schumer calling for new elections in Israel to get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. Joe Biden believes in a two-state solution. This is Lindsey Graham on Meet the Press. This is what the Republicans believe about Gaza and Rafah.
Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Senator, again, military officials say
Whatever
the technology has changed. But let me ask you about how all
these
of this
military
could
officials
impact.
that you're talking about
Let me ask you
are
something.
full of crap.
Okay, so there are no angels here. Biden is no angel. Netanyahu is no angel. There are no angels here. America is no angel. Our economy, we have a war-based economy. Joe Biden cannot stop the shipment of arms to Israel or Ukraine because that's our economy, okay? But this is what the Republicans believe. Let me play this again, okay? While the Democrats are condemning Netanyahu, calling for a ceasefire, threatening to hold up arms shipments, Biden did temporarily hold up an arms shipment. This is what Republicans, this is how they think Netanyahu should handle Rafah and Gaza.
Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Senator, again, military officials say
Whatever
the
you have to
technology
do.
has changed. But let me ask you about how all
these
of this
military
could
officials
impact.
that you're talking about
Let me ask you
are
something.
full of crap.
Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican, also has zero problem with Benjamin Netanyahu. Zero problem with the way Israel is conducting its operations in Gaza and Rafah. Speaker Johnson, Republican, last week extended an invitation for Netanyahu to come to America and address Congress, which the Israeli Prime Minister has accepted. No date has yet been set. So while Chuck Schumer is calling on Netanyahu to step aside, Israel needs new elections, Mike Johnson and the Republicans are inviting Netanyahu to address Congress. Zelensky, no. Netanyahu, yes. After Israel, right, they wouldn't meet, the Republicans wouldn't meet with the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. They wouldn't let him address Congress. But Bibi Netanyahu, the Republicans can't wait to welcome him to Washington. Netanyahu is a Republican. He's the Likud party, and they are essentially Republicans. After Israel sealed Gaza shut, not allowing humanitarian aid to make its way in, President Biden ordered our military to build temporary piers off the coast of Gaza to make deliveries possible through the Mediterranean. He ordered the piers to be built within 8 weeks. The Pentagon delivered on his promise. It's not enough. Those piers, however, are now functional. As of last Thursday, more than 1 million pounds of humanitarian aid has been unloaded. It's far from, there's famine in northern Gaza. It's not enough. But Joe Biden isn't God, and Netanyahu doesn't listen to Joe Biden. Look, it is I'm going to say something that's glib. It is a tough world out there. Hamas is bad. Netanyahu is bad. Trump is bad. I know this is small comfort, but a decent president of the United States, a decent president can only do so much. An indecent president can do a lot more, but it'll all be bad. And even when Trump was president, and he is an indecent human being, having the reins of power, the kind that he wants, he will get things done. An indecent man can get a lot of things done. All of it cataclysmic. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. Go to work for the Democratic Party. It's crunch time. I am urging all of you right now, don't donate. Donate to, Gallego and the Squad, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Always donate to Rashida Tlaib. But the way to help right now, the way to help yourself is go work for the Democratic Party locally, the school board, the city council, because Biden's going to win, and you're going to want to look back and say, I did something. I did something. I'm not going to defend if you listen to this show, I have attacked the Democratic Party mercilessly. But there are seasons. This is not the season to attack the Democratic Party. You do this when we're governing. This is not the season for governing. This is the season of politics. And you cannot let the Republicans keep the House, seize the Senate, or the Oval Office. It just can't happen. So, okay. If you would like a transcript of today's show, go to shopdavidfeldman.com. And thank you to everybody who has been stupid enough to buy the garbage at shopdavidfeldman.com, like this. I'm using the wrong filter here. Uncle Scam coffee mug. That if you buy that crap, it makes it possible for me to put transcripts of the show up. And I'm giving out free Harvard diplomas. You just have to, you print it out and then write your name in, and you get your own Harvard diploma. So if you go to Shop David Feldman for free, you can get a transcript of this episode for free, and there's a free Harvard diploma suitable for framing. You have to write your name in, though. We're going to try to do a watch party on June 27th. That's the big CNN debate between President Biden and the homunculus. And so if you're interested in coming, I'm going to put out a link. I need about 10 people willing to talk to me, because it's going to be an audio podcast of my show. It's not going to be done on YouTube. It's going to be done on Zoom for my audio podcast. So I've talked about it already. And over at Shop David Feldman Show, pick up an official Donald Trump fart filtration mask. This is what the pros use. Fauci wore it in the Oval Office. The official Donald Trump fart filtration mask. Father's Day is coming up. Go to Shop David Feldman. We have some great gift ideas, like world's creepiest stepdad coffee mug, made in Los Estados Unidos. It's a coffee mug. And Leonard, my nephew, printed up David Ferdman Show hoodies and T-shirts and coffee mugs. He took my credit card, and we printed up a couple hundred David Ferdman Show coffee mugs and T-shirts and hoodies. It's my sister's son, Leonard, failed stuntman. He was going to be a Hollywood stuntman, but he has acrophobia, and I gave him a job running my store. He took my credit card, and he thinks my name is David Ferdman, and now we have hundreds of coffee mugs and T-shirts and hoodies because of Leonard, my sister's son, David Ferdman. He's busy. Hey, here's something. You know about an appeal to heaven flag, right? Justice Alito is flying it outside his vacation home. The insurrectionists carried an appeal to heaven flag into the Capitol. Speaker Mike Johnson has an appeal to heaven flag outside his office door. Over at Shop David Feldman, we are putting out an appeal to D's Nuts flag. You can get a flag, and wave it over your vacation home or in front of your office. It's an Appeal to These Nuts flag. This is what it looks like, and it comes with a pole, and you can wave it. If you're going to go hear Mike Johnson speak or Dutch Sheets, you might want to wave an Appeal to These Nuts flag. Look how beautiful it looks. You can hang it in your home. Goodbye. Thank you to Bob. An appeal to heaven, an appeal to these nuts. That's yeah. Okay. Thank you all for listening to me. I will please like this episode, please share it, please subscribe to my newsletter, please subscribe to this channel, hit the notifications so you know when I'm going live. Thank you to Bob in the chat room. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. Oh, let me just check. Julie Talbot. Thank you, Julie Talbot, for your super chat. I will see everybody maybe tomorrow. I'm feeling better. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.